Alright, students, we obtain these lines, two lines, when we have a dummy variable in our regression. Alright, so here the effect of human capital index on GDP, logarithm of GDP per capita, is the same for oil-rich and for oil-poor countries because the slopes are identical. The slopes are given here in this regression here, yeah, the effect of human capital index on logarithm of GDP per capita is the same for oil-rich and for oil-poor countries. Oil-rich and oil-poor countries differ only in terms of the intercepts. Remember, the 3.6 here shows the intercept for the base category for oil-poor countries, and if I add this number to this number here, I will get this is beta 0 hat plus delta 0 hat. You will get the intercept for oil-rich countries that will stand above the oil-poor countries, and you can see the difference of two lines here. So to obtain the difference in terms of the slopes, we have to add the interaction term into our model. We have to interact oil dummy with human capital index. To do so, we will modify this regression a little bit. We'll use hash, and we should put c dot in front of human capital and I dot in front of oil dummy. So that's how we interact two variables. Human capital is continuous, that's why here we have c dot. Oil dummy is factorial variable, is categorical variable, that's why here we have I dot. And you can see now the estimated coefficients. This is beta 0 hat here, yeah, the intercept for base group, which is oil poor countries. We have the delta 0 hat. This is the coefficient of oil dummy. We have beta 1 hat. This is, let's say this is beta 1 hat here. This is beta 2 hat. But also we have the coefficient for the interaction term. This is delta 1 hat. And you can see that the coefficient here is negative. So even without producing the graph, what can you tell? Starting point for oil-rich countries will be above compared to to oil-poor countries. This is starting point. I mean the intercept. Yeah, but here we have negative. Delta 1 hat is negative. Human capital index will have this effect on GDP per capita in resource-poor countries. But to obtain the effect for resource-rich countries, we have to sum these two, this one with this one. And since we have here negative coefficient, the slope for resource-rich countries will be flatter. The effect still will be positive because this number is greater than this number, but the effect will be smaller for oil-rich countries. So let's type margins at the same. We will use the same command as before. We assign different values to human capital index and for oil dummy, and then if we type margins plot, you will get two lines. All right. So what these two lines tell us? You can see that starting point initially in oil at lower levels of human capital index, GDP per capita is higher in oil-rich countries compared to oil-poor countries. But since there are differences in the slopes, existence of delta 1 hat leads to difference in the slopes, and these two lines intersect. The general picture here tells us that the effect of human capital index on GDP per capita is stronger in oil-poor countries. In oil-rich countries, higher human capital still increases GDP per capita, but at lower rates. The effect is smaller. The effect of human capital index on log GDP per capita is smaller in oil-rich countries, right? So this is one example, and I just came up with this indicators here. Maybe the model is not completely true. There are omitted variables in this regression. Maybe I'm not using the indicators correctly, but you see how these techniques can be applied in practice. You can download data, use conventional indicators from the literature. You can group your countries, you can group individuals, you can group firms, and then see how one continuous variable influences the dependent variable in different groups. Yeah, it's very easy to implement in practice, but the methodology, the model, regression model that you're estimating, you have to justify this model. You have to look at the literature, other studies, identify the major determinants of the dependent variable, and you may add then something, some other indicators in your regression. So I will stop this recording here. Thank you very much for your attention.